Hey, all right. I don't know, I guess I wasn't thinking I was feeling like making a video, but apparently I'm feeling like making a video. Anyways, I was making some notes about what some future videos based on some comments I'm looking at, the questions like people are asking me, and also my own personal gameplay, and be it that I am not playing like higher up ranks in the 128, and I am not playing very high ranks in matchmaking either. Um, but it's also, I think, interesting just what kind of gameplay is just happening in the public servers. I've said before, you've heard me say I prefer to solo queue. I just like the randomness of playing with who's ready to play. That said, that pretty much rolls right onto the topic that I want to talk about, which is team play. So, you know, someone was asking about, improving their game. If you're a team player and you want to play on a team and you ideally want to get better and be able to play semi-pro or pro, then you're going to want to be playing on a team. So, best way to do that is just to make your own team. If you end up playing with other people and they have another team, then maybe you'll go from your team to their team. You can always do that. You're much more appealing to someone who has a team if you're already on a team. So my suggestion is just to make one. It could be just a pub team to start out, and you end up playing some time together, and then you can sign up for tourneys, and if you do okay there and people show up and stuff like that, then you can pay to play in the leagues. But in general, just in the game of Counter-Strike, team play is a huge factor. And even when you're in a pub or a public server, basically don't get in the game to play if you're not ready to play the game. And so I don't know, I could say half of you don't know how to play the game, but I don't think that's necessarily true. I think people see how the game should be played, and they're working to get to that point, and they just kind of they don't quite see what it is that they're doing or not doing. So I'm gonna just try to call this out right away. So I've found in my team leading that it's better to point out what to do than what not to do. Okay, so if I'm an IGL and I say all 5 players go up banana T-side Inferno, um, and one guy just goes and lurks fucking alt and stuff like that, or just decide, maybe they even call it I'm gonna go anchor over here, um, then that's they're not being a team player. So um, what was I saying? So it's it's like a communication thing, right away. So if we're if we're just pubbing and people are just doing whatever they want and that's acceptable, then that's fine. But then that's what everybody's doing. Okay, so it's not okay for 4 people to be working as a team and one person to just be fat. You know what I mean? So there's so many times when we're in a pug and we're trying different strategies and stuff, and someone's just baiting the whole team, and it's just okay, you guys look, now from now on the winning strat is just to bait this player. Okay, because we could be in the site, we could take the site, we could plant the bomb, we could be holding the retake, and they could be all the way on the other side of the map, and they're just completely useless. And then at the same time, they're calling their team useless because we're not able to hold the retake because we only have 4 players. But the problem is that the objective is very different. Okay, so when you're pubbing, people say it's more of an individual play style when you're more of an individual player. So that doesn't mean that you're not peeking together or getting trades with people, but it means that you're not less necessarily relying as much on their calls, on their in-game cues, and then you're potentially taking up bigger spaces on the map by yourself. So that could involve basically what looks like just sort of death matching, right? But what I'm trying to say is that even if you're in a pug, which is like like a public 5v5, like Face It, or matchmaking, you should be using a certain amount of team play and kind of like losing track of what I was saying there, which is basically like everybody should have a mic, everybody should be working together. um, there's just like kind of like minimal standards of, and I'll kind of have written out some of this stuff, but so anyway, my point I was trying to make though is it's better to point out what you should do rather than what you shouldn't do. So assuming we're all like on a team and that guy is supposed to be a team player, then right away instead of saying, hey, why were you over there, what were you doing in that spot, what was your idea with that? Although even that would be a nicer way of saying like you fucking fail. But instead I would say, our team was over here, we needed you here, and next time go, up this way, nade this way, or smoke this thing or whatever, like, so being much more like hand over hand, and also that sounds more proactive because it's not like you're saying, God, you shitty, you're not capable of fucking doing what the team needs. Get the fuck out of here. You're saying basically you're a solid player. You're well capable of doing what the team needs you to do, and this is what it is. So, it's just like one of those kind of like give respect, get respect situations. But at the same time, like if you're just like too nice to people, then they will just like, not respect you. So, but being constructive, so saying what you want people to do rather than what you don't want them to do. And overall, just for everybody getting in the game, like if you don't have a mic, if you're not feeling like talking to other people or working with other people, then just deathmatch, play Danger Zone, whatever. Like play what is it, custom maps or casual or whatever. If you're gonna play in the competitive game of Counter-Strike, then when you get in the game, you should be ready to play, and you should like, it's just consider, and you can reflect on your own games, so many rounds where the team is just feeding, and a lot of that starts off with people just standing in fucking spawn, taking their time buying. It's not even like they're AFK. Sometimes they're AFK, but like, that's pretty much completely relevant to what I'm talking about. If you're not ready to be in the game, playing the game, then don't get in the game. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to be AFK, and shit, man, I'm fucking guilty of that all the time. I go AFK all the time. Anyway, but compensate for that. Or try to. But yeah, for the most part, the standard should be, and try to make it so, that when you get into the 5v5, that you're ready to play the game. And that means you're ready to talk, you're ready to work with your teammates, and you're not going AFK. Anyway, so many rounds feeding the other team, and it's just like a waste of the game. You know what I'm saying? So people think, oh, well, I just went AFK one round, or it was just like these couple rounds. We only lost the momentum that one time. And it's like 3 rounds becomes 4 rounds, becomes 5 rounds, becomes 6 rounds so fucking easily, okay, because of the buys and stuff like that. So it's like basically like one dude goes AFK and another guy, a couple guys take too long getting on a spawn, and that's like potentially 6 rounds of getting spanked by the other team. So anyway, I'm not going to point out all of the potential like dominoes that can happen from that, but basically I'm trying to like talk about what kind of gameplay you want to be playing if you want to improve as a player, and that means playing with team play. And if you can't get that in a public thing, then you should just make your own team. Okay, so some of the things that you would be looking for in making your own team, even if it's just a pug team, is this kind of thing where people understand that they're playing to win, but they're also playing to improve their game. Okay, so it's not like they're just playing to, um, you know, rank up. Okay, have a plan, strategy. Okay, strategy. I know this is a word most people don't know in Counter Strike anymore. Okay, we joke about it. Us Source players joke about it, about how um like it's like, oh, no one's following, no one's calling strategy strats. It's like no one knows strats, no one uses strats. Like, what are strats? Like, what's cal? Like, what are strats? Nobody. It's like people like me who were students in the game, who were fucking like outright nerds because everybody wanted to like be too cool for school. All right. So they were like, it's already was kind of like a dying breed. And then so many different kind of like evolutions in the game. And then when CSGO started becoming more popular in the last couple years, and the way that they made, like, I mean, they made so many things in the game so much easier, in the sense that it like uses these overlays to tell you like where you are on the map, what weapons your team had bought, like everything. I mean, God, they keep making more and more updates. Like, pretty soon you're gonna be seeing like tracers from your team's like nades, and I mean, it's just kind of like, it's almost like they're playing the game for you. And some of it's like nice, it's like, wow, just like you've maybe heard me complain about how like much more difficult it was to get this information back in the day, when you're like, pulling up the console, everybody's having to call their damage, which we still do. But and there's other things too that now people kind of get in the habit of not calling, just because the game kind of provides you that information. But by calling it, it kind of like sets the tone for your team. So here's strategy. And okay, us nerds, we debate what are the best strats. Who has the best strats? Okay, there are some great strats out there, and yes, when I'm looking at another team and how they play, I'm going to implement a certain strategy to counter and adapt, because I'm like all about adapting in the game, and that means a combination of meta and team play. So, because you can't just ignore the meta, and what people are doing in the game. So, but yeah, as far as like debating like what the best strategies are, or like, oh, it's not, you shouldn't throw a smoke here if they're playing here, or if they're playing this angle with an op or whatever. Like, no, there are no bad strategies. Like, definitely some like that kind of probably aren't the greatest, but in a very real sense, there's only bad execution. So as long as team is working together, even if you tried to execute like the worst possible scenario based on how they're set up, right? Because like, you got to take into consideration, this isn't just like you're playing the map against bots or something. You're the map changes based on what they're doing. So say you do like the worst thing you could do, and they're countering to what they do, and say like T side Inferno, you run up banana and like 3 of your teammates get killed, and they stacked it and you didn't kill anybody. As long as the other 2 teammates are working together, and then they can always recover, and then they can fall back, and then they can regroup, and they can pick off players, and they can like, and yeah, the statistics and like, the odds of that, like, you think, oh man, you'd have to be like pro players to be able to like rework that scenario. But that's not necessarily true. It just takes staying calm in that situation. Okay. And maybe posting up the bottom banana and seeing, well, they have the numbers, some maybe they'll get aggressive, and then they push down banana, and then you get a quick 2k there, and then the other guys don't push, and then you and your teammate work up mid or alt, maybe plant the bomb, pick off another guy, and then it's a 2v2, and you have the bomb planted, and suddenly you're in the advantage. You probably fucking shot up. But anyways, the point is that even a noob can call strategies. Okay, so you don't have to have you might complicate things for your team. Like there are some bad callers, like definitely, like, and I would like to consider myself like above average in that. But at that point, I can become a shoutcaster, and some people don't like that either. So it's like I definitely know how to like tone it down. But there's some styles of calling that can like confuse your teammates. But generally speaking, it doesn't matter who's calling the strat, just the basic strat. Like it doesn't have to be like, oh, you're gonna wait till this time, and then this person's gonna throw this smoke, and then this person's gonna peek, and then this person's gonna move here. Okay, it's just the basic like, hey, let's spread out. Let's work a pick strat. Let's play a 2-1-2, and then where are you guys going? Okay, so talk. Call what you buy. Don't rely on the game overlay to give this information, okay? Because this helps set the pace. So, you have a good spawn. You're buying an AK, say T-side Furno. I'm just going to keep using T-side Furno because, I don't know, it's strategy wise, it has the layout that makes sense. So anyways, you have a good spawn, you're buying an AK, you're running up banana for the pick. Okay. So that's information like right away that sets the tone for your team. Okay. So in-game leader says 2-1-2, and then one person calls out like, I have this spawn, I'm buying this gun, this is what I'm doing. Say, so call where you're going. The IGL called 2-1-2. I said that. Okay. So say here, I'm just gonna go this again. So like different scenario, another round. Your teammate set your IGL calls 2-1-2. Same thing. Set up a pick strat. Your teammate says I'm holding mid. Maybe with this op or whatever. One says I'm going up for the pick banana. You say I'm gonna go support this guy banana. One teammate says I'm going apartments. I'm going to go for the pick apartments, or because that it doesn't mean that they're necessarily. They might say I'm going to be aggressive for the pick apartments, or I'm just going up apartments. But either way, in apartments, they're going to have contact potentially first if they're playing passive mid, if they're playing passive banana, so they're going to need a support. So you say I'm going to go support alt, and then that person would go kind of stand alt. Maybe shoot out the window and make noise to kind of distract the other guy pushing up, or just hold that window balcony push, which so many people do. This is so basic, but it just requires not being, too self-absorbed to be able to like interact and like work with your teammates. So call what you call what you hear or what you don't hear. You call what you see, and you call what you kill. All right? Very simple. Those are like that is essentially just the standard. Like if everybody, all 5 players follow those, kind of basic guidelines in the game of how to work together, and you keep playing together, you're going to build chemistry. You're going to build cohesion, all of those things that I talk about with the 5 C's. So I'm just going to say that again. Strategy. Someone calls a strategy. Okay. Says, oh, they're aggressive. They're pushing. Let's spread out and pick. 2-1-2. Talk to each other. Call what you buy. Call where you're going. Call what you hear. Call what you don't hear. Call what you see. And call what you kill. Okay. Very important stuff. So basically, all of the other shit, like, I don't care if you can fucking B-hop down mid and fucking quick switch from your op to your deagle and be fucking, like, just mowing kids down or whatever. Like, you're useless on a team if you can't follow some of this stuff, okay? And, even in, like, the pugs, like, when I'm just playing with, like, people, I just see people and, like, their disappointment in the game. I see they're like kind of trying, like they're definitely not just being like egotistical and being like, come on team, why aren't you winning? But I definitely see that people are like kind of demotivated in the games sometimes because they're like, why aren't we winning? It's like, wow, we have like these people have great shots and stuff, and they'll say, well, like the other team, maybe they're cheating. And I have been, there's been a lot of people online, so yeah, I have seen some cheats even on Face It, so it's not like it doesn't happen. But you never assume, like, I mean, it's just never a good thing to assume that other people cheat, even if you know they're cheating, if they're blatant. It's better to try to outsmart them, and you can, because cheats are not the end all be all of, yeah, it does give people like ridiculously stupid advantage, but it's not the only advantage in the game, and you can counter them using strategy. But anyway, so basically, I don't want to go there quite yet, but basically the point being that there's so many rounds in there that the team should be getting, because they have decent aim, they're decent warmed up, they're working together, but no one's talking at the beginning of the round. No one's calling what they hear or don't hear, which is like really important, okay? Because say we're T-side Inferno and you're that guy who has the great spawn for banana and you have an AK. You're going to run up for the pick. You're expecting a guy to be behind you supporting you. You're expecting a guy to be T-stairs holding your mid push behind you. Very important. You're also expecting your alt players to be pushed up to a certain extent where they're giving some pressure on the other side of the map. All right. So, these scenarios where people are like throwing tons of mollies down banana and like pushing down banana is maybe more of a pug scenario than like a team play scenario. Teams probably won't be that aggressive, but they might decide to. So either way, if you have that spawn and you're the guy running up there, and you've dodged like two mollies, and you're 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 dealing with the forces that be at banana, okay, all by yourself pretty much at the first, like, 30 seconds or whatever until your support guy can get there. At that point in time, your alt guy's getting up apartments, your mid guy's in place mid. Even if your mid guy isn't peeking mid, he's holding the push from mid to alt and back banana. So when people call what they hear or they call what they don't hear, that can become extremely important, like every millisecond, okay? And, when you're calling, timing of what you're calling is super, super important. But at that point, let me stick to what I'm talking about. Because when you're the guy who had the good spawn and you're trying to entry into a site, what people hear and don't hear is super important. So, say you're Dust 2, and I think just giving you a visual, this is a little bit better, and to just say, oh, say you're Dust 2 and you're like trying in the B tunnel, you're trying to pick like upper B ton, and your teammates are over long A. I think this is a good example because it's like it's pretty far away for a small map. But say they like nade stack long A tunnel, or say they don't nade anything long A tunnel, and they don't, there's just like all of a sudden they just drop long. Maybe they're stacking cat. Maybe they stack the B site. These are like, cues and stuff like that. This guy in the B tunnel has no way of knowing. Like, he cannot hear the nades from long A. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that because the game does give people a lot of information, that they've kind of lost track of what exactly that needs to be called. Okay, so when you're working timing and you're working teamwork, and this is a different thing than just being like pubbing or pub starring, going like when you're actually like, playing for the win, okay? And when you're using that kind of thing, like I was just saying, like, even if you do the worst thing, if you're working together as a team, if you stay calm, you can regroup, you can recover, and you can win. Okay, so like that could be where it's a disastrous thing in the round, at the beginning of the round, or that could be throughout the game, where the other team has like 14 rounds and you're like struggling 9-10 rounds, and you just pull it back one round at a time and win. You know, it happens all of the time. You know what I'm saying? But it's not going to happen if people freak out. And that's just funny. Like, I love that some people have said, "Oh, they like my voice," because I think that's a little bit funny. Because as a team leader, like, um, in the past, I've people don't really like, hearing a girl like tell them what to do. So, I think being an aggressive female it catches people off guard. Like, I like being the underdog that way, where it's like, who's just like, and then it's like, well, they don't know what I know or what I don't know. So, but anyways, and then, like, I get a lot in the pubs too, like, just like, you're annoying. And I think it, like, right away, because they think I'm a boy, and it's like, so my voice is a girl's voice. They think I'm a boy, and it's like, sounds like I'm like a little boy, and then I'm like telling them like shit, like, like facts in the game or whatever, and they're just like, you're so annoying. Anyways, um what was I saying? Okay, about coordinating and that timing and working together. So anyway, I was gonna say something about my voice, but I used to just, be like, look, I'm gonna just yell at you. I don't know. Look, you got to build people up, but at the same time, you can't sugarcoat things for people. So, um, this is kind of like one of those things where it's like, if you're gonna just get in the game to practice your mechanics, then please deathmatch. Okay. Um, don't be like, oh, it was a good game because I learned some stuff. Because experimenting is great in a pub, but it's like, you can, like, learn some stuff playing in a public server, like a regular public server. Like, if you're playing like a pay to play 5v5, you should be like in competitive mode and play semi like you would be playing on a team. And a part of that is okay, so going back to like calling what you hear, what you don't hear. Okay, so that's incredibly important for me. I've said before that I don't necessarily need to hear my teammates' calls, but I do benefit from hearing what they don't hear. So if they're used to hearing one pushing up in a spot and then they're like, it's quiet here or whatever, um, you know, that doesn't necessarily mean they're not going to go to that site. I'm not just really going to full balls out rotate to the other site, but it definitely gives me a cue as an entry or as an aggressive player, where I might find contact first. Okay. So then call what you see and then finally, okay, call what you see is the obvious one. All right. So if it's right after you die, then that would be appropriate to call what you saw, and even maybe what you heard too. So it's like, if there's two players left and you saw one arch side and you heard one in the apartment's boiler and it wasn't your fucking teammate, then you're gonna call that. Okay. So yeah, getting back to then call what you kill. Okay. And so this is a final and very important one, which I think is one of the main ones that I think gets left out in like a public, scenario. And I've found this like kind of like really complicated a couple times, where I finally was just saying people like, call what you kill. Oh my God. Like, call what you kill. It's like, yes, we're winning, but we're winning through randomness, because there's no, like, I think a part of this again has to do with the different spots. So like I said, if you're that guy who's running up for the entry banana, milliseconds of time, these calls are super important. And if someone kills one, like right away, I want to know where that pick is, because that, again, as an entry or someone who's, I might be running back to the other side, I might be running back the other way, I might be running back and forth like 5 times during the round, as a rotator or as an entry or whatever, right? And so all like it, as people kill the people, and the numbers are ticking down, like, it's really important to know like where they kill people, especially on maps like Mirage and even Nuke, where the sites are more the site on Nuke, and then also like mid Mirage, for example. There's like at least 4 different places CT side mid that someone could be peeking from, like cat, connector, mid window, right or left side, underpass, so if people are like calling off numbers and they're saying, like there's 3 mid, there's 3 under window, 1 boosting window, and someone kills one, and I'm in jungle, all right, I need to know, do I look window or do I look connector? Like, hello, right? Right? There's 3 of them there. One of them's boosting window. One of them's definitely coming jungle, right? And one of my teammates kills one. I need to know which one was that he killed. Did he kill the guy boosting window so I don't have to worry about my jungle and I can turn around and look connector? I mean, these are the split second, millisecond decisions that will basically put your fragger, whoever that is, into the perfect position to be able to lay down those 2Ks, those 3Ks, those fucking beautiful headshots or whatever, because, you're kind of like working, like I it's weird. I like have trouble like describing this, but as a momentum player, you're like working the wave. It's the flow. I don't know, whatever, right? But really, though, like I talked a little bit about timing in one of my videos about how like everything gets broken down, even like the micro macro kind of everything. And so, where you have like a certain amount of time on, like for example, your buy time in T spawn, like you want to get ahead of that time always. Sorry, my desk is crackling. It's like a drafting table. So anyway, so yeah, I don't want this video to be too long. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. But I basically was just saying about the timing is you want to get ahead of the clock. You want to get ahead of the flow. You want to get ahead of the momentum. The game is about disrupting the other team, whether you're a T side or whether you're CT side. So T side, your objective is to either get into a site before they can set up or get into position, basically to execute before they can get set up so that you can get essentially the prime positions, okay? Or to wait for them to get set up and then try to throw them off somehow in their rotation, okay? So like if they go B and it's quiet and then they send some cat to mid and be able to like pick that guy off or something, right? So essentially you're evading their, it doesn't make sense because you're T side, so you think T side's all the strategy. Well, no, it's really CTs have the strategy because it depends on how they set up, how what you execute T side is going to work or not work. So it's sort of like you're basically trying to evade their strategy from the get go. And so basically that is all about timing. So you want to be calling like your strategy. You want to be talking to each other. You want to be calling what you're buying, where you're going. All of these things, preferably like as fast as all this information can get out in like it's like 10-second buy round or whatever. I'm not really good at like these like real statistical details of the game. If you haven't noticed, I don't try to like deal with any of that because I know there's like 500 other channels that'll tell you exactly what the bomb timer is, and 64 tick and 128 tick, but it's not the same. Okay, so or at least it wasn't last time I checked. But anyway, so I mean that in of itself could give you a big cue as to like why you might be wanting to play 128 tick, because when you get used to things like, for example, how long it takes to defuse the bomb, shit like that, and then you go into like a competitive situation and the clock's like shorter and you're like, oh no, I got this. And it's just like, no, like that's all the work that everybody put in that whole round. So, and I talked about that before too. So, don't feed the other team. Work together, okay? Especially if you're good, okay? Like if you're a level 5, a level 6, a level 7, and everybody else in your team's like 1 and 2s, and or it's just like, I mean, I'm just kind of giving that as an example of like, if there is a huge skill gap between you and the other players on the team, then I put it on you. Okay, you should not be the person not listening to the other team and anchoring yourself in position to catch as many frags as you can, but not actually win the round. And then wonder why you're not winning or blame the rest of the team. Okay, because you're at the top of the scoreboard. Nobody gives a fuck about frags at that point in time. Okay, because that's like, I mean, it's important to get those picks, but if the team can't be in position to utilize those picks, then you're just stacking your stats, and your objective is the round, to win the round, not just to get kills. So there's a lot of like over rotating, like, back in, like playing competitive games, when you're learning to become from like a pubber to a competitive player. One of the main things is not overextending yourself. Okay, and trusting your teammates. And I do see people doing that a lot, like trusting their teammates, and that's great. Like, that's winning. That's how you win. Okay, you can't just be like, oh, they're running up mid and then everybody goes mid. No, you gotta trust your mid players to hold mid. Maybe they need another support. Let them work that out. You hold your fucking spot until the bomb is spotted, or you know what I mean? And then don't be stubborn and just hold your spot until the bomb is spotted when it's clear the entire other team is there and committed. Because at that point in time, you and your other teammates who are still alive, who you are going to keep them alive by rotating to keep them alive, can then retake the other bomb site. Okay? So I'm going to just put that there. Like, share, subscribe. I have a lot of information that just kind of seems useless sometimes, and it's just like, oh, in the world of things going on, Counter-Strike, it seems very like superficial maybe, but the game changed my life. It taught me a lot of things, about like leadership and all that too, but like also just about like commitment to each other, and like like the sort of like band of brothers type stuff that you might find on a real battlefield, where this sort of camaraderie between people that is very difficult to achieve in real life. Okay, and I still feel that every day when I get in game, or when I just get on my friends list and just chat to random people who I have no idea what they look like, or I don't care. Like, not looking at, your Instagram or whatever, it's like, it's just, all that matters is what's going on right then and there. And it's like, oh, it's like, I don't know, it's a little bit, it's more like of kind of like an anonymous thing. Anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling. Like, share, subscribe. I said that already like 5 times. So yeah, I should really watch this video and take my own advice, and I'll I'll let you know how that goes.